These guys have made this incredible group, maybe you heard it, called Broken Lizard. They've also done some really cool-ass movies, including Beer Fest and Club Dread, and a little film. You guys hear a movie called Super Troopers? You hear this? Yeah, okay, good movie. And they're like, boo, back there. And they are doing little films, got a little bit of buzz, called Super Troopers 2. Let's get them out here. This is Eric and Paul! No, other. Turn that. You're good. Oh no, my iPad. This panel's already ruined. It's the first panel. We've ruined it. Give it up, guys. Give it up. Oh my God.
Like a living room here.
We shouldn't have.
I love this setup.
Wow.
We're totally inside the actor's studio. This.
We should have had a dress rehearsal. You saw us. We would have kept going down and out, and if you hadn't stopped us.
I'm totally gonna James Lipton this. What's your favorite beer? Actually, that is a question I have because I mean you did Beer Fest and like we love beer, so I'm gonna start off with that. I don't care. What's your favorite beer?
You know what drives me crazy is Jay will always say Budweiser because I think he thinks that makes him look like a true American, but I don't think I've ever seen him drink a Budweiser.
He loves like a great double barrel IPA.
Yeah. All right. I love IPAs, man.
I like Grolsch. I like Carlsberg. I like Tecate. What else?
Obviously, a lot of beer drinkers out here, man. You can tell they're just like.
My favorite is Hams.
Hams the beer refreshing?
Yeah, I'm a simple man. I like a Hams. Not easy to find, but
Minnesota.
Yeah,
They still sell that in Minnesota?
I'm from Minnesota. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah, they still sell it there. Yeah.
Right? That's all the time we have. Thank you guys. Woo!
All right. First question that, I'm sure some people out here know, some don't. Broken Lizard, how did it get started? How did this group get together and do all this funny stuff?
We were put together in Florida.
Good answer. Okay, my next one.
No, there were people who have actually approached us thinking that we were assembled like a boy band, that like some media mogul picked okay, I got an Indian guy, I got a fat guy, I got a short guy.
Your own SNL troupe.
Yeah. No. We all went to college together, and actually Jay wanted to start a comedy group at Colgate University, and had auditions. I mean, we all kind of knew each other from various things, but Jay, for the illusion of legitimacy, made everybody try out, and then it was, a group of us that did sketch comedy at school, and then we graduated over a couple years and went to New York and kept doing stage stuff, and then just got more and more into doing little, we did little film bits to sort of be a part of the live show, to change out of one costume, to get out of your gorilla costume and into your mermaid costume. You'd shoot like a little short sketch, and there just got to be a point where we're like, God, fuck the running around on stage in the gorilla costume. I want to, the sketches, the shooting the sketches are actually the really cool thing. So we just got more and more into doing stuff on film and just kept doing that.
Now Broken Lizard, I'm sure you're sick of that question, but where did that name come from? Is it just random or?
We like to say it's a night gone wrong in Tijuana.
Or gone right.
Or right. Gone right. I'm going to change that. It's a night gone right in Tijuana.
I influenced Broken Lizard. I like that.
But the truth is, Jay just showed up at a printing shop one day and decided, we all sat around and came up with names that we were like breaking, trying to just think, breaking our heads to try to create a great name. We had 4 Whiteys and an Engine. Chocolate Speedo, I think we're 2 finalists.
We were supposed to be Chocolate Speedo.
Yeah.
And we ran around telling our friends, yeah, we're in a comedy group called Chocolate Speedo. And showed up for our first
You'll be at a very different convention if you went with
Oh, man.
I'll tell you right now.
That's kind of what we were hoping for, yeah.
We'd go to Choco Cons, we'd be at Speedo Con.
Candyland. Candyland.
And showed up and saw the posters for the first show, and it said Broken Lizard. And we're like, oh, that's cool. Who's that? I bet that's a funny group.
Yeah.
And Jay was like, no, that's us. I decided at the last minute to just it was like an epiphany. Yeah.
But it worked because even you wanted to see it.
It's true. I was like, boy, that beats the hell out of Chocolate Speedo. Yeah. So I guess he was right.
Yeah.
Always trust your weird things that come over you at the last second, I guess. Yeah.
And what was the inspiration for one of your earliest projects, the Tinfoil Monkey Agenda?
First one. Wow.
Another great name, by the way.
Timely, isn't it? What's going on right now? It's sort of like Wag the Dog came out with the professional version of it.
Right.
And then like everything that's going on with the current media right now is sort of like in the zeitgeist.
It's true. I never really thought it was a half-an-hour movie. So this was a movie that we did before we made Puddle Cruiser, our first feature, like a half-an-hour short film, and it is essentially about fake news. And then at the time,
Real fake news.
right.
Like, I mean, like I know we get called CNN as fake news, but this was like, we made a thing about fake news.
Right, about people, creating this.
And some people
Latin
didn't know it
American
was a comedy, clearly. And they're like, we can do that. And they actually put some of those news groups.
That's
and
true.
They didn't know they were
Yeah,
a
yeah,
comedy
yeah.
either.
We should get a commission for every bit of fake news that comes out. We invented the genre.
We did. Yeah, yeah.
You
Get
did a
our-
lot
get
of
our
money
lawyer
coming
on the
from
phone.
Donald Trump, if that was the case.
Boy.
The three people that saw it.
So yeah, no, we wanted to do, that was, like I said, we'd been doing these little short, maybe 2-3 minute sketches. So it felt to us the next thing would be like kind of a short film. So that was a 30-minute film, went to a bunch of festivals, and kind of that helped us get some momentum in getting Puddle Cruiser made. So that was that kind of middle stage between just doing a sketch and doing a movie.
Speaking of movies, again, little film I've heard of, Super Troopers, turned into this huge, incredible. I mean, all these people turn out. I mean, everybody just knows this movie, loves this movie. What was just your overall goal of that movie? Because it's such a wonderful, strange experience. Like, you make this movie where you're just hoping to get some laughs, or did you think it would explode as much as it did?
We've always predicted that everything that we've ever done was going to make $100 million at the box office. There may even be like recordings of us being like, I'm telling you, this is the one, $100 million. So, but at the same time, we're not, we wanted, because Puddle Cruiser had gone to festivals and almost got bought for distribution. So really with Super Troopers, it was, okay, this one we have to get in theaters. Because this was a time when little indie movies bought at festivals could get out in theaters. And so that was the goal. So, it was sort of everything I think we thought we learned from Puddle Cruiser was like, kind of make it bigger, make it wilder, make sure there's 5 jokes on every page of the script, and just lay everything out there. Because I think at the time we were like, this is probably our last shot at this. And so I think we put everything into like, let's make something that just hopefully people will love. And I think we thought it was funny. We didn't know until we went to Sundance, and there was a great reaction at the festival, and it got bought. But, really, when it was in theaters, it did okay. It really kind of took that long time of people, like somebody in a college dorm being like, oh, my God, I've got this. I saw this movie. Have you seen this movie? I mean, so it really was probably 2 years down the road before kind of walking down the street, you realized that people were like, oh, the Super Troopers guys. Like that was a considerably long time after the movie actually came out.
Well, and this is a common story, a film that comes out and like it's, kind of it comes and goes or it does okay, and then just over time it gets this immense popularity. What do you think, I mean, not just with Super Troopers, but just kind of films, similar films, what do you think it is that sort of takes that amount of time, or why does it get people later? Why do you think?
I feel like Office Space and Napoleon Dynamite are 2 examples that also sometimes we get packaged with. Maybe they're a little more dialogue driven. I feel like a lot of people, when they like Super Troopers, come up to us and they can quote a scene, shenanigans, meow, or certain scenes that they feel that they remember the dialogue. And so I think maybe that kind of what is comes to the cult following.
And I think,
not a cult, but a cult.
Like, I think
OCC.
Like, I
I'm
think
sure there's a real cult based on it too.
wouldn't that be cool if they sacrificed goats and stuff while they watch the movie? No, and I think, like a comedy, like a studio comedy, generally speaking, kind of looks one way and behaves one way and sounds one way. And so I think, we didn't look like that. And so it kind of took a while, and then people were like, oh, this is really cool, and I like it. I want to share it because it's clearly not like a Hollywood comedy. It feels like a group of buddies made it, and people are like, I want to show it to my group of buddies because it reminds us of, you know, what we're like, that we're idiots, and so these guys are also a group of idiots who made a movie, and so I think that made it feel very sort of personal and real to people, and that's why it kind of got shared that way.
Why? Again, you watch the movie, you're like you said, you feel like you're having fun, a bunch of guys having fun making this movie. What was the most fun you had shooting a scene? Like, what made you probably laugh the most? You already got one, clearly.
Yeah, no, I always laugh because we have so much fun writing it. You know, the cool thing is like you write these jokes, and we've known each other for so long. We've been friends since college for long. So like, I remember having so much fun writing the scenes where we got to make Kevin covered in powdered sugar. And then you'd write these scenes, and like, oh, here's the burger scene where he pulls this thing and he gets doused in soda, and then he's going to jump the burger guy, and then he's going to get arrested. So you're having as much fun writing it, knowing what Kevin's going to have to do.
But then likewise, you're on set too, like, oh my God,
so
this is so cool because he's going to jump over the counter, and you know, yeah, subjecting your friends to things that you know will sort of debase them and be difficult. And that was, you know, and as we wrote the sequel and then shot the sequel, that was one of the pleasures of it, was like, Farva, what do we get to do with him? What do we, you know, and you know, it's actually it's tempting to make that guy the butt of every joke of the movie, because we've all come to like love this asshole, and it was like, oh, I get this guy back in my life, and I'm going to do the most horrible stuff to him because I can. And so, like, you know, it was really hard. We had to, at some point, be like, oh, wait a minute, this sequel is all about Farva, and we turned him up to 11, to the point where we actually had to, like, be like, okay, wait a minute, we have to make sure this movie exists on planet Earth, and this character still is somebody you're like, oh, yeah, I know that guy, I work with that guy. Because we were just like, it became like the Farva show, and it was like a rocket to the moon, and so we actually had to scale it back.
I got a favorite torture moment with that character. What was your favorite means of just pure villainy?
Well, I thought the funny thing when we were shooting the powdered sugar scene was like, you know, it should be a very private moment. He doesn't have any clothes on. He's covered in Vaseline and powdered sugar.
It's all penis.
Yeah.
And typically that's a very respectful moment on a film set. I know
very
people
artistic, guys, very
right now think that Hollywood is just all about horrible, abusive people, and in that case, we did kind of abuse him. But usually that is like, okay, only necessary personnel, get everybody out, you know, no friends, no family, come on, we're doing a sensitive scene here. But like, everybody showed up for that.
It was a tiny little jail cell, and it was crammed with like 30 people in there.
Just... And Jay brought his family. Like, that was I think the weekend or whatever that Jay's parents were visiting. And we, you know, you would think, oh my God, don't let your parents see this, because they're going to think, what are these guys doing? But they'd known the group, they'd known us long enough to be like, oh yes, I see what you're doing here. Yeah. So yeah, it is, and I have to hand it to Kevin, because he went on with the show. The show must go on.
Yeah.
But can you imagine doing that and really having a crowd of people all looking around? Yeah. So
and the funny thing is, we shot in this town called Beacon, New York, and it was an abandoned building. We turned into a police station. But next door was a real fire station with like a fully functioning fire station. But it was the only thing that had a shower. And so after I did the shaving cream in the locker room, I had to walk next door to the fire station, ask them if I could use their shower. And they're like, what in the world are you guys shooting over there, right? I had to get washed off in fully shaving cream. And then another naked guy comes over the next day, and we had to cover Kevin in Vaseline to get the powdered sugar to stick. And so a guy walks over the next day covered in Vaseline and powdered sugar. And the fire station, they had no idea like what Super Troopers was at the time. It was just these random kind of like independent filmmakers shooting next door to use our shower over and over again.
Speaking of Super Troopers 2, what can you tell us now about it? And any secrets?
Yeah, we just told you some secrets.
Well, okay, but
dirty secrets.
Well, we all knew there were going to be dicks.
Yeah.
But we'll see if there's any more secrets you can tell.
Will there be real marijuana?
Real marijuana.
It is Canada, right? It's legal up there, right?
Yeah. No. I mean,
Real marijuana in the first movie, that's what she was asking.
The question
There's
was,
a thing-
was there real marijuana in the first movie?
And it was another big lesson about like filmmaking is you would think, because we're so much of the time that we're writing and we're riffing and rehearsing these scenes, yes, we're smoking a lot of grass, but put yourself on camera high, it just like everything kind of crawls to a halt, and your timing just becomes off, and things are just a little slow, and so we learned that early on, so we never...
There will be time for people to ask
we
questions.
We are going to do an audience
The
Q&A.
show is only for me.
Yes.
I have a question, me.
No, that's okay.
That's okay.
That's a good question. Say that one. It's a good question.
But actually, with that said, we actually do want to open it up to the crowd to ask questions. You've gotten your fill, but if you want to ask more, if anybody has a question, we have a microphone right up here. You can get up and you can line up right next to
look
it
at
here
that.
if anyone does have a question there. So you can do that now. Yes, there you go.
While they're walking
the
up
dude that
to-
just raised your hand, you can go up to that mic. Yes. You can walk. There you go. Left foot, right foot. You're doing great. Left foot, right foot. That's phenomenal. Yeah, there you go. So go ahead. Yeah, we're gonna open this up to the crowd there. If anybody has any questions, just go ahead and ask. And we got one right here. Go ahead.
Well, first I have a comment of I joined the military a little after Super Troopers came out, and you guys, the meow bit, ruined military radio communications for like 3 years. I couldn't call for anything without, oh, we'll get that right there, meow. I think the question I have is, you guys written a lot of movies yourselves, especially from the earlier to the later. Is there a difference in writing a movie when you have like no budget to when you have a big budget? Has it changed the jokes or anything?
We've never had necessarily a big budget. I mean, they got bigger since, obviously, Puddle Cruiser and Super Troopers. There's a weird thing where it's always like, you always seem to not have enough money to do what you want to do.
Like we even consolidated characters in the new one. We had some characters that we turned 2 into 1 and had to cut.
Yeah, so no matter what we write, our producer will hand the script back to us and be like, okay, cut 10 pages out, and yeah, take 10 characters and turn them into 5 characters, and this thing that's outside at night, make it outside at day because the cost of the lighting, and so it just feels, I've never had, so for us, I think we just tend to think about, what we think will be funny, and sometimes it will, we'll get into a conversation about, yeah, you could do this thing with a helicopter, I suppose, but, we know that's going to eat up a big chunk, so, we'll tend to be like, let's hold off on that. And the only thing that we've ever worked on when we came in and did a rewrite on the Dukes of Hazzard movie at Warner Brothers, that was the only time where it was like, write anything you can think of and we'll shoot it. It just doesn't matter. We'll destroy as many cars as you want. We'll jump them. We'll shoot them into space. So that
They catapulted a car onto a highway. They had a scene in New Orleans, like in the middle of the city, where a car goes flying off a ramp in the air, lands on a highway in the middle of speeding traffic.
yeah, which
They encourage that.
and they took like 5 times. So like 4 out of the 5 times the car like rolled and got destroyed. And
Yeah, it
it's like
destroys the car
clean up
every
that
time.
car, get it out of the way. We're gonna do another one. So that kind of thing, like it's just crazy. Like
Incredible.
I mean, it was fun to work that way one time, but I like the way that we work, where you have to everybody has to get together and think about problem solving and what's the easiest, more sort of economical way to do things. I think this is kind of in the spirit of what we do. So, having said that, I guess if somebody offered us a gigantic movie, it would be fun, but,
We did write a movie where we wanted to shoot people into space.
Yeah.
We had
The astronaut?
Was it the boss? Like they go on a retreat in the woods, and then there's a crazy boss that just when he doesn't like somebody, he shoots him in outer space.
Yeah.
So
we
on location.
No. Yeah, we write those jokes, and yeah, they just get cut. Yeah.
Cool. Yes, you sir.
I just find your movies great because the first time you watch them, like the first time I saw you, I was like, oh, that was a good movie. Then all of a sudden the lines are repeating in your head. And it's like, then you start watching your movie like a second and third time. And they actually get better like the second, the third time, and it's just that thing. But I wanted to ask about a particular joke from Beer Fest, the Gill landfill scene. I've never seen that in any other comedy movie, even something similar. And it's like, did you create that on your own? Because I think that's just
that Gil, that when Landfill died
Yeah,
and,
when
and was.
Landfill died, and it's like, hi, my name's Gil. Just call me Landfill.
I think it was like we have always looked for like we've have such a good time writing mock tragedy because we think it's always funny to be like if we had to like cry and if we had like something that was very serious that looked absurd when we were doing it. And so it became one of those things where like, okay, well let's kill Heffernan's character, but you can't, you don't want to take that guy out of the movie 2/3 of the way through. So it was like, okay, let's kill him so that we can all like sob and do a lot of hand wringing and do a lot of fake emotional stuff, and then we'll just find the easiest, most convenient way to replace him with an identical brother. But what's funny is that like Heffernan has like 30,000 Irish cousins or whatever who all went to the like opening weekend screening, and when he dies, all of these stupid Heffernans are like, okay, we're out of here, and they just walked out en masse. And we found out later, and Heffernan was like, dummies, you had to know that I was not out of the movie. I wasn't going to be out of that much of the movie, but these guys had just walked out. So yeah, I don't know, just it was silly.
Yeah, the original Landfill died, and his family just walked out. Okay, no more Kevin.
That's love, I think.
But yeah, that was the original idea. I don't think we'd ever seen it before. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I mean, you see a lot of goofy, like, soap opera, oh, there's my twin, oh my God, I had a twin, or whatever. But just the idea of, like, losing a main character and then just replacing him as conveniently and easily and quickly as possible just struck us as funny. If we make the next Beer Fest, I would like to kill Gil and have there be another brother, but not have it played by Heffernan. Have it be like Multiplicity, where like each one we go through is like a little more diminished and weird looking, and
Kind of gets dumber and dumber.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We had and a sort of a backstory, a little Easter egg. When we were shooting Super Troopers, we had a guy who was the Teamster captain on Super Troopers, and his name was Gil, and he was real serious. And so we had a little running gag that we would try to see if any of us could ever make Gil laugh.
Make a Teamster laugh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we enjoyed being able to incorporate Gil into Beer Fest.
It is a great name, Gil.
I think we got one over here, correct? Yes.
I was curious as to what the motivation was to have Super Troopers take place in Vermont. Was one of the Broken Lizard members from Vermont, or was it one of those instances where you just closed your eyes, pointed to a U.S. map, and just picked a state?
Have you guys ever heard of Averill, Vermont? Averill, it's way north, up on the Canadian border. A buddy of ours had a cabin up there, and we used to love to go vacation up there. And I think even after we finished Puddle Cruiser, we all went up to Averill, Vermont. And then we crossed the border to go get stronger beer and to go to church.
Poutine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had, we got poutine, stronger beer, and we went up there and we discovered they had these dual strip clubs.
Dual sex strip clubs.
Strip clubs where they had in the same club men and women, which was very unique to us. So we thought that was, I'd never seen that in the United States before.
But so this was, we'd gone to school upstate New York, and then we moved to New York City, and when we were doing live comedy, we'd do a lot of college tours and stuff. So that kind of like New England-y tour cycle was something we were always doing, crammed in one car. And so it was based on kind of like these border experiences we'd had on the Vermont-Canada border, but also just that idea of if you were a highway patrolman in a place where maybe there's just not that much action, a place like Vermont, imagining that would be where you'd get guys who would be really bored and want to kind of fuck off all the time, yeah.
Because there's a lot of long stretches up there. You go across the Canadian border, and it didn't really seem like it was any big deal. You could go pretty easily, and then have these long stretches of highway. And we were thinking there must be guys that patrol these gigantic, long, desolate, remote stretches.
Yeah.
Right, on the left, right here.
How you doing? Is there an improv scene across your movies that you're really proud made like the final cut? And if not, can you share any cool Bill Paxton stories?
Yeah. So the funny thing is only recently have we been able to really improvise much, because that's the other part of having no money when you're making a movie is like you get maybe two shots, 2 takes of doing it the scripted way, and you gotta move on because you gotta move on. And you know, we would rehearse so much so that it felt really natural and improvised. As time went on, we started to have a little bit more. I mean, there's a little bit. We were able to do some improvisation in the Super Troopers sequel, and so I don't want to tell you exactly what it is, but it's in the, if any of you have seen that teaser trailer that's out for the sequel, the 60-second Super Troopers 2, I have an exchange with Gaffigan that was improvised, and I was thrilled because not only did it make the cut, but it made the teaser trailer, and not only did it make the teaser trailer, it was the outline on the teaser trailer. So I was like, first of all, when you're an actor and you get the last line in a trailer, you're like, fuck. But yeah, in that case, I was super psyched because it was, yes, an improvised exchange that made the movie and made the trailer and made the last line of the trailer. So go back and look at the 60-second teaser that's online, and that's
over and over
and again, yeah.
It's entitled Shave the Date. If you Google Shave the Date.
That's how you find it? Okay.
Yeah, that's how you can find it.
Go on the left here again.
You guys probably get this question a lot, but at the end of Beer Fest, you tease another movie that I was hoping you guys would be doing. Do you
That's
have
a
any
statement?
notes
Oh,
on
okay. Yeah, so the Potfest joke at the time just felt like a joke to end the movie. Because when I was a kid, I think and I saw Superman or Superman 2 in the theaters, and they were like, coming soon, Superman 3. You're like, oh my God, that's the most exciting feeling as a kid. So I think we just wanted to throw that in there as a joke. But then, of course, when the movie came out, then we started getting a lot of people asking about it. And so we're in this position now where I was just telling somebody, you know, if Super Troopers 2 does well, we will either do Super Troopers 3, because there's a lot of stuff that we didn't fit into the second one, or we would do a Beer Fest sequel. And then the question would be how much of the Beer Fest sequel would really be. Would it be Potfest, or would it be a Beer Fest sequel and still have some of that? So we're kind of doing all that creative thinking now. But I think one or both of those things will get done.
Go see it, man. Okay, you got some good sequels lined
Based
up
on,
here.
yeah, no, we have a ton of stuff that we want to do. So it's, yeah, we're telling people don't just go see the sequel, go that opening weekend, because that's kind of how decisions get made in this business. And so we would love to jump right into that.
Cool. Over here on the left again.
Hi, I was curious, how did you get, who was the inspiration for Gam Gam? Because I love Gam Gam.
I love Gam Gam. Well, you have a lot of elderly family members, really sweet, conservative-seeming family members.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Minnesota, so I get teased a lot for being the nice guy in the group, and a lot of people make fun of my mom, even though she doesn't talk like this. They're like,
Oh, hello, Eric. Hi, nice to see you guys.
That's exactly what she sounds like. I'm telling you guys, it is exactly what she sounds like.
Does she really?
Yes.
She does?
You don't hear it because you're
I
from
don't hear it.
Minnesota.
Hysterical, yeah. So I guess it was based on my fictional grandmother. I don't think you guys ever met my grandmother, my great-grandmother, but
No.
I think it's an imagination of what my great-grandmother would have sounded like. Like a sweet old lady, right?
Sweet.
Sweet, I assume. And then, I think we're all fans of Cloris from, man,
Lots
the
of
list
things.
goes on and
Last
on. Young
Picture Show,
Frankenstein,
yeah,
Last
yeah.
Picture Show, Young Frankenstein. And so we always, we started back early in Super Troopers wanting to have a really grounded, great actor, like a Shakespearean actor. So we, with Brian Cox in the movie, we loved the formula of having a really grounded actor that we can just kind of dance around and pretend to be actors around. They really do, they really give some heft and some veritas to a film.
Because our inclination will just be to turn on the camera and just start being idiots, not necessarily thinking about it as acting. But yes, you get an actor in the scene with us, and then you're like, oh, I should start taking this seriously. What would an actor do right now?
Right, yeah. It really raises your game, so we
does.
realize it can help raise our game if we put a Academy Award winner actor in the
And even with Paxton, that's a cool thing. I think every film we've been able to snare somebody who had no business doing one of our dumb little movies. And yeah, you had asked about a Paxton story, and I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, one of the beautiful things about him was that when he read the script and we offered him the part, that for him that was like what real actors do also is they show up on set and they want to occupy that persona for as long as they're there. And this was this perfect situation because we were completely removed from society. We were in a resort in the middle of nowhere in Mexico, beautiful, idyllic place to be. But that separation also meant the day he showed up, he was Pete, and he stayed as that guy, which is so cool, and it's a cool thing to work with, because also that's a great guy to hang out with. I mean, Paxton's a great guy to hang out with, but Coconut Pete is a fucking great guy to hang out with. But there is a distinction in that, like, because, you know, we stayed friends, my family and I stayed friends with Paxton and his family for a while, and he is a great guy, but he could be a little ornery. He's a Texas dude, and, you know, he was easy to get you might get a little snap out of him if something wasn't right. So what was funny was that, you know, Coconut Pete is the most mellow guy in the world, so he just would walk around. Like, he'd be off shooting, like he wouldn't be shooting for 2 days, and yet still you'd find him walking the beach, like shirtless with the guitar strapped over his shoulder, and you're like, God damn it, look at that, he's still Pete. And that was so cool, and he just wouldn't break, and why would you want to break if you could be that guy for a month, 2 months? But I remember, though, like, we did get one big rainstorm, and the kind of central area at the resort was where everybody hung out and ate and drank. And it was up elevated, so to leave you would go down a series of steps, kind of like this. And there were no lights. I mean, it was this exotic resort. Like, they didn't, like, it was, when it got dark, it was dark. So we'd had rain, and we'd been sitting around drinking with Paxton, and he was, you know, he was being Pete, and had that stupid guitar over his shoulder. And he's like, oh man, all right, I think I'm cashing it in for the night. And he goes to walk off, and you have to take a series of like 10 steps. So he just disappears into the darkness going down the steps. And then I just hear, bing dong ding dong ding bing dong fung fang. And then I look back, and up out of the darkness comes Pete. But I can tell this isn't Pete, this is Paxton. And he's fucking pissed. And like the guitar is broken, and the strings are curled around. He's like, God damn it, would it kill you guys to get a PA to put some goddamn grip tape on these stairs? And goes back down off into the night. And I was like, that may have been the only Paxton sighting of the whole 2 months of otherwise hanging out with Coconut Pete. Yeah.
I was going to say that kind of morale, him just going around, that's got to, I mean, I'm sure morale is already great, but that's got to raise it even higher when someone just stays like that cool.
Yeah.
Like, they're so jacked up about the role that they just stay in that role, and it's not a jerky role. It's like a really...
Exactly. I can see now, like, I've
if
heard...
you were on the set with Jared Leto, that would suck. Like,
well, no, I mean, yeah, we've never experienced that, but I've heard that, like, oh, yeah, when somebody's playing a character that you don't want to be with, but they're occupying that character for a prolonged period of time can be... difficult, but in that case, then, you know, you just didn't want that guy to go away. But I think the really sweet thing that I would say that somebody, after he died, asked me about, the beauty of Paxton was you do these movies, and then you become so close to an actor, and, you know, we leave set, we're all going to see each other all the time because we've been doing that for years, but you then kind of say goodbye to people, and even though you think you've had this great connection with them, it's kind of, these are professionals, and they go and they leave your set, and they go to another place, they do another movie, and then they leave that. And in the case of Paxton, what was beautiful was that I was like, oh, you know what? He all kind of became my uncle and everybody's uncle, because that was just part of that routine, and then I'll never see him again after that. But we stayed friends for years, and I realized, oh no, like he was taking on this character, but at the same time, he loved meeting people and making friends on movie sets that he stayed friends with forever. So after he died, and they did a big memorial at Warner Brothers. It was like the most star-studded thing that I've ever been a part of in my life, because you realize, oh, wait a minute, he knew everybody. He had worked with everybody, but then he stayed friends with all those people. So to go to this memorial and have like every single A-lister that you know just get up and take turns talking was an amazing sort of affirmation of like what a great guy he was and how much he loved the Hollywood community and the social aspect of what we do, yeah.
That's so cool that you get to work with a guy like that. I mean, because it's like you come across some great actors and some not so great actors, and when you come across one that touches, so many people that show up like that, that's really, really cool.
I remember one more Paxton moment versus Pete moment.
I gotta hear.
We were shooting, and in the mornings, before we got down to Mexico, about 6 weeks before we shot, and we would do rehearsals, location scouting, all that kind of stuff. And every morning we get together like 10 o'clock to start reading over scripts, start reading scenes. And Bill would show up every morning with a plate of pancakes. We were staying in a resort, and every morning he would come with a stack of pancakes, so we started calling him Pancake Paxton. Like, yeah, what's up, Pancake Paxton? He's like, hey, man, don't call me Pancake Paxton. If you start calling me Pancake Paxton, everyone's going to call me Pancake Paxton.
That's the kind of nickname that can really stick to a guy. He was like, stick like maple syrup. Yeah, exactly. That way, hey, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, we won't call you that. All right, Pancake. So we.
You're right. Yep.
One more.
So we're just about ready to wrap up here. Last thing I got to ask you, you got a whole room full of people that just love the stuff you do, and, it wouldn't be here without half of these incredible fans that come here to see you.
So grateful.
What do you have to say to so many great people, man?
I mean, what I would say is, we appreciate your patience. Because this has been a thing, for those of you who I'm assuming are interested in seeing the sequel, just the years and years and years of butting our heads up against walls to try to get this movie made, and we've taken some of your money. I mean, some of you have already taken money out of your pockets and given it to us to get the movie made. So nothing makes us feel more gratitude than that, and just we appreciate that also. If you're feeling half as anxious about it and impatient about it as we are, I'm sure that means that you're incredibly, incredibly impatient about it. So thanks for putting up with the delay, but it will be worth it, and we put our guts into this movie, and I can honestly say, like, anybody who is a fan of the first one and excited to see the second one, you will be rewarded. It's a great, great, fun movie. So a few more months and we can all relax and enjoy ourselves.
And I tell people, I thought it was a really cool experience. I mean, the first time doing the crowdfunding thing, we got to have, like, the fans would show up on set. We shot outside of Boston here, I mean, just up the road, and you'd show up to work every day, and a bunch of people who were Indiegogo contributors were there on set with you. And you'd go work, and then you'd go hang outside, and you'd hang out with them. We'd have lunch together. If we had scenes with background, they were guys that got men and women, got to be in the scene with you. So it was really fun to make a movie with people that actually appreciate your humor. So I thought it was one of the coolest experiences in our filmmaking history.
So thank you, guys. Thank you
very much.
Yes. And
So
thank you
grateful.
so much. Give them a round of applause, everybody.
Woo, thank you. Thank you.
See you guys on the floor.
Woo! Go see them at their booths.
Thank you.
Take care.